Well, we're here on a very serious subject today. Last summer, after the terrible events in Aurora, Colorado, where we lost a United States naval sailor by the name of John Larimer from Crystal Lake, Illinois, who was killed by an assault weapon with a high-capacity ammunition magazine, I call for a limit on high-capacity ammunition magazines in our state to no more than 10 rounds. And as we all know, in December, terrible events occurred in Newtown, Connecticut, where children and their teachers lost their lives. There are no words in the English language, the Spanish language, or any language to relieve the pain of the parents who lost their children and their loved ones in that terrible tragedy. But there has come together parents from Newtown, Connecticut, with an organization called Sandy Hook Promise that have gone across America to Washington, D.C., to Delaware, Connecticut, places like Colorado, to talk about the need to limit high-capacity ammunition magazines on guns in our country and here in our state of Illinois. And this very week, indeed tomorrow, there will be a bill before the Senate, our Illinois Senate, on this very issue, to limit high-capacity ammunition magazines to no more than 10 rounds. And I wanted to read something I read in the paper, that the gunman who killed those children and teachers in Newtown, Connecticut, carried 10 30-round magazines when he entered Sandy Hook Elementary School last December. And I think everyone in our country is left to ask if that shooter had been forced to reload his gun, not 6 times, but 15 times, because there would be a limit on those rounds, would more children be alive today? And I think all of us who are parents need to ask ourselves, what are we doing together in the best traditions of Abraham Lincoln's democracy, a government of the people, to make sure we have laws passed in our state to protect our children and all of us. So these next 12 days in Illinois, between now and the end of the month, when the legislature can come together to represent the people, to pass a very needed law in Illinois to limit high-capacity ammunition magazines. We can do this, banding together for a cause we believe in. And I'm very, very grateful to the parents from Newtown who have come here today. The people of Illinois welcome them and thank them for coming to our state. Tonight they'll stay at the governor's mansion, and tomorrow they'll have breakfast at the governor's mansion, and then they will testify and talk to legislators in our state capitol. And our own President Lincoln, as well as President Obama, both served in the Illinois General Assembly. And it's a very important place indeed to send a message, really, not just to people of Illinois, but to our whole country, and indeed our whole world, that we are going to do something after what terrible things happen. So I think it's important to bring forward a leader on the issue of gun safety for decades, someone who has passed laws, someone who knows firsthand how important this is to the health and welfare and safety of the people of Illinois, and that's the President of our Senate, John Cullerton. Take it from there, John.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you very much, Governor. Over my 30 years as a state leader, I have been unwavering in my fight for stronger gun laws to keep our families and communities safe. I'm very proud of the fact that Illinois has been the only state in the nation that doesn't allow for concealed guns to be carried in public. While I would have been happy if we kept it that way, the federal courts have said that our ban violates the Second Amendment for the purposes of self-defense. The General Assembly is now tasked with the crafting of a law that lifts our blanket prohibition against concealed carry weapons, or let local governments make that decision. This action of the court isn't the only event that is motivating members of my caucus to consider our next step on guns. It doesn't speak louder than the tragedies that too many families are facing day after violent day. Families that are represented here today and those impacted by gun violence in this city are demanding a different focus. They want stronger, more sensible, and safer gun laws. There is a national outcry for action, and I am committed to responding appropriately in Illinois. I refuse to let one faction, the National Rifle Association, dictate a response that benefits their interest while silencing the voices of victims. I stand with Senator Dan Kotowski and Governor Pat Quinn in the effort to prohibit the sale of high-capacity magazines and limit the damage caused by weapons. I hope that the families who are here today are effective in encouraging more of my colleagues in the General Assembly to pass responsible gun laws. And I want to personally thank them for coming here to Illinois and to Springfield to lobby for these sensible laws. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you for your leadership. And over again, the Senate President has led the charge for important safety laws in Illinois that have saved lives. And there is a passage in Scripture that says if you save one life, you save the whole world. And that's what we're here to do today and tomorrow and this whole next 12 days. And the sponsor of our legislation to limit high-capacity ammunition magazines on weapons to no more than 10 rounds is with us. He's been in the vineyard fighting on this issue for the people, for safety, for many, many years, before he even was a senator. He understands firsthand how important this issue is to the parents of Illinois, to the children of Illinois, and that's Senator Dan Kotowski. Come on forward, Dan.
Thank you very much, Governor. Good morning. I want to thank the families of the children who died in Newtown. It's been a pleasure to meet you, Mark, and it's been a pleasure to meet everyone. And it's a very difficult issue, and I just want to say that this is one of these issues where for a long time we've been working on this, and I was very touched by the fact that people across the country sent teddy bears to Newtown, and as a result of the shooting, for people to express their concerns and their heartfelt compassion and sympathy. But what I found ironic about this, and tragically ironic, is that teddy bears face more stringent regulations than guns do in our country. Teddy bears are tested for sharp edges, points, loose parts, and flammability. And you know the number of children who were killed by teddy bears in our country last year? So this bill that we're passing is a way to hold the gun industry accountable and to make sure that we honor the memory of Dylan and Benjamin and Daniel, and to make sure that we say to the gun industry that, and the sellers of these ammunition magazines, that we're not going to tolerate this in the state of Illinois, that you can't sell an ammunition magazines at 10 rounds or more. This doesn't impact hunters. It doesn't impact sportsmen. What it does is it limit the damage that these weapons can cause. We've seen this in our own state in 2008. We saw it happen in NIU, ammunition magazines of 30 rounds, which killed a very large number of people at Northern Illinois University. There were 28 people who died at Newtown as a result of a high-capacity magazine of plus 30 rounds. So what we're saying is we want to limit the damage these weapons could cause and address the sale in our state from outside Illinois through the internet, manufacturers, dealers, people who sell them person to person, but also we're going to say in this bill that if you use a high-capacity ammunition magazine in a crime, it's an aggravating factor, meaning a penalty will increase as a result of that. So two very clear components of this. Look, it's about time that the gun industry step up and take responsibility for the products that they create and the products that they sell. There's a reason why these guns are more lethal than they ever have been, is because there's absolutely no regulation on the production and distribution of ammunition magazines in our state. So this bill will limit the damage they can cause. It'll respect people's individual rights and their liberties, and it will go after criminals who use them in crime. I can't emphasize enough to you, when you look around your house tonight, or you go over to your, if you have children, if you have grandchildren, look at the toys around your house. Look at the teddy bears, and look and make an evaluation. You say, well, we've thought it's so important to make sure we protect children from flammable teddy bears, from teddy bears that have loose parts, from teddy bears that are unsafe. So when we go to sleep tonight, or when we look in the mirror in the morning, that we know that we've we've taken the steps, the same steps that we've taken to protect children from these very potentially dangerous teddy bears, that we've taken the same steps to protect our kids from, in reality, what is even more dangerous, the stunning capacity of weapons to fire hundreds of rounds of ammunition. And if we don't take the right steps right now, we're not living up to our responsibility. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dan, and thank you for your passion and commitment to this issue. We have to get 30 votes in the Senate and 60 votes in the House in the next 12 days, and that's why we're here. And our next speaker is someone who believes in love and logic. I read her quotes in the newspaper. When I first saw them, that's where I called the Sandy Hook Promise to ask the parents to come. She's the mother of Dylan Hockley. It's a young boy who lost his life at that school in December. And his mother, we thank her and honor her for her commitment to help all the mothers of our country make sure that their children are safe. So without further ado, Nicole, please come forward and say some words.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Nicole Hockley. I'm not a political person or a professional lobbyist. Until recently, my primary role in life was being a mommy to my two sons, Jake and Dylan. But on 12/14, when my beautiful 6-year-old boy Dylan was murdered in his first grade classroom alongside 19 of his friends and 6 of his educators, my role in life changed. While I will always remain a mom, and I know nothing will bring Dylan back, I am now committed to doing all I can to make sure that no other parent, no other family has to go through the horror I'm going through, the horror the other parents of Sandy Hook are going through, and the same horror nearly 4,000 families are currently going through as a result of gun violence just since 12/14. And that death toll continues to increase every day. I'm grateful that the people of Illinois, through their elected leaders, are taking a stand to make this state safer from gun violence, a stand which will ultimately save lives. In Newtown, we learned the brutal truth about the devastation that high-capacity magazines can cause. The person who killed my son carried 10 30-round large-capacity magazines into Sandy Hook Elementary School. That's 300 rounds. He chose to leave his smaller capacity magazines at home. He chose to have the best kill rate possible by using high-capacity magazines, which only exist to deliver as many bullets as possible in the shortest time frame. In approximately 4 minutes, he shot 154 bullets and killed 26 women and children. And in an instant, my precious boy was gone. But in the time it took the shooter to reload in one of the classrooms, Dylan's classroom, 11 children had the opportunity to escape. If the shooter's magazines had held 10 rounds instead of 30, forcing him to reload many more times, what additional opportunities would have been available for someone to disarm him, as we've seen in other tragedies? If he had needed to reload more often, how many other children might be alive today from both classrooms? Maybe Dylan would still be alive. When meeting us for the first time, many people say, "I can't imagine what you're going through." Unfortunately, that's true. Even if you tried to imagine, you could never get close. Many other people say there are no words. That's also true, there are no words, but there are actions. The Senate must pass Senate Bill 1002 and limit high-capacity magazines in Illinois. This is a common-sense solution, and it does not infringe on anyone's Second Amendment rights. What happened in Newtown can happen anywhere, any quiet town or any busy city. No community is immune. Any of you could be in my position. That's why it's important to make meaningful changes now. Our country is at a turning point in history, and every day of inaction means more lives could be lost. Don't wait until this happens in your community to take action. Don't wait until our tragedy becomes yours. I'm so grateful that Illinois is moving forward to keep its citizens safe, and I want to express my thanks to the legislature, the governor, and the people of Illinois. You've already done a lot to bring common sense solutions on gun safety to this state. Please take this next step and ensure that fewer multi-victim shootings can happen here. I hope the leaders of states and the politicians in Washington are watching and will follow your lead. Thank you. Now, Francine.
Thank you, Nicole. And Benjamin Andrew Wheeler lost his life on that sad, sad day. And his mom is here, Francine, and she wants to speak to the people of Illinois. Francine.
Thank you. Hello. My name is Francine Wheeler, and I live in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, with my husband, David, and my 10-year-old son, Nate. To be honest, I don't think of myself as a lobbyist, but as a messenger for my son, Ben, who was 6 when he was killed on December 14th at Sandy Hook Elementary. It is only because of Ben that I went to Washington, and it is because of Ben that I am here today. Nicole talked about why we support a limit on magazine size and the terrible reason that we are brought here to Illinois today to advocate on behalf of that issue. I want to address the concerns people have with these limits. People have told us that limiting magazine size won't make a difference because studies show that it only takes 2 to 3 seconds to reload a magazine. But we know from personal experience that it can and it does make a difference. Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, whose shooter was brought down when he stopped to reload, knows that it makes a difference. And we know that when the shooter at Sandy Hook Elementary reloaded, children were able to escape. Not my son, Ben, but other precious children are alive today because magazine size makes a difference. If limiting magazine size saves just one more child's life, just one, isn't it worth it? And we know it will save so many, many more. The limit on magazine size does not affect what guns you can own or use. Hunters don't use high-capacity magazines. Other than target shooting, the only purpose for high-capacity magazines is to kill as many people as possible fast. Limiting magazine size will limit the ability to cause mass casualties in a public place. This is a common sense solution to a terrible problem. Moved to action by our tragedy, Connecticut recently passed legislation that limits magazine capacity, and other states are taking this reasonable step to make their communities safer. Nicole and Mark and I are now members of a club that no one wants to belong to. That club is already too big. It includes the families of those murdered every day at the end of a gun. We hope that the state Senate will do the right thing and pass SB 1002. We don't want to see other families joining us. It's just too painful. I'd like to thank Governor Quinn, Senate President Cullerton, and Senator Kotowski for their work on this issue. Like Senators Durbin and Kirk in the U.S. Senate, these Illinois leaders have shown a willingness to do what they can to stem the terrible problem of gun violence. We appreciate their efforts. We stand here today as mothers and fathers to tell you that if we can spare one more family the grief we've experienced, it's worth every mile of travel to get here. Please pass Senate Bill 1002 and limit high-capacity magazines in Illinois. Thank you.
Thank you, Francine. And Mark Barden is with us. His son Daniel lost his life on that day. And Daniel had a special ability to befriend anyone. He was a joyful boy. And Mark, do you want to say a few words about your son?
My name is Mark Barden. And as Governor Quinn said, I'd lost my 7-year-old son, Daniel, on 1214 in Sandy Hook Elementary School. Daniel was a light of positive energy in his community and in our home. Daniel constantly looked beyond himself, was always comforting others. Daniel became known in his short scholastic career as the little boy who would seek out somebody sitting alone and try to comfort them. The individual that stormed into Sandy Hook Elementary School on December 14th was the kid that sat alone. And I can't help but wonder if Daniel, or someone like Daniel, had visited this individual at some time in his young life, if maybe things could have been different. That's speculation, but what we do know are the mathematical facts. As Francine and Nicole said, the shooter made a conscious decision to leave smaller magazines at home and bring the 30-round magazines to the school so that he could fire off 154 bullets in less than 4 minutes. Every time a shooter has to change the magazine is an opportunity for lives to be saved or for someone to stop the shooter. Please pass Senate Bill 1002. It will save lives. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you. I want to thank the parents, and I think it's our duty to make sure that we carry on and do the right thing for the people of our state and for the people of America. It's important for Illinois to send a message to other states and to our federal legislators that this important reform needs to be done and done now. And we can do it before the end of this month and put it on my desk so I can sign it into law.